Hi, Cheryl. So I wanted to give you some tips like you asked for. Don't mind the horrible videographer skills and that guy. He might give you some noise. But I'm going to try and just show you some things because I'm leaving on vacation tomorrow, so I wanted to get a little snapshot of some helpful tips for handstand. So, one thing you're going to want to do is, it's actually an exercise in P90X3 and P90X, I think, to strengthen your shoulders. So I'll kind of sit you down to show you what you can do. So let's see if I can get it on the floor. All right, so one thing you can do is you're going to kind of get in like a triangle pose. So you can start your hands at the floor. And you're going to walk your arms out just a little bit, so until you're comfortable. And you can kind of turn your hands in like that, and then put your head down, and you're just going to do some shoulder push-ups. If you can get like 10 of these in a day, it'll start to build strength in your shoulder muscles here, and that's kind of where you need the most strength through your handstands. It's core, but it's also shoulder work too. So another thing that you can do is something like a frog kick or a donkey kick. So what you want to do is mainly practice starting to get your hips closest to over your shoulders. So when you're doing a handstand, the biggest fear that a lot of people have is that they're going to fall forward. Well, if you fall forward, you tuck your head and you roll out of it. So you almost want to picture taking this part of your back and slapping it against the wall, like giving a high five to the wall with your sacrum. So like right down here. So when you're getting ready to do them, hopefully I'm at a pretty good angle, you want to put your hands down on the floor, kind of like in downward dog. So start in down dog, and then scoot your feet in a little. And then all you're going to do is go up on your toes and exhale. And then you're going to practice just getting your butt to the back of the wall. Now yours might start off looking like that, and that's okay because then you're practicing just getting a little air time, hang time. So you're going to practice until you start getting your knees and your butt kind of even with your shoulders. So it's a cardio activity too. So that's kind of one thing that you can do. So little hops to practice getting up and down until you feel that tilt and you start to get that hang time in the air. Sorry for the dog again. He thinks it's playtime. So those are two things. So the push-ups and then practicing hopping. I don't know if you can see it, but I'll do it a little bit sideways so you can kind of see better. So from here, just practicing little kicks, little hops, until you finally get to the point where you stick it and you get your butt over straight up. And I would say take pictures or video if you can, because then you'll see how close you are. Because some people feel like, I'm right there, why am I not getting any hang time? But the truth is because their butt's still back here. So they'll be like this and thinking that that's even with their shoulders, when really it doesn't look like that until you're about here. So you kind of hop. And your arms and your shoulders, and you'll get out of breath, you'll get tired, but it's a really good exercise to do to practice getting the strength in your arms and shoulders, and also practicing getting that hang time, because that's the fear that most people have to break, is just getting that time. The next thing I can think of that might help you is either kicking up against a wall or doing wall walks, which I don't know if you've seen. Janelle Summers actually posted some videos of wall walks before. I'm going to try and find an open wall for you. So let's see. Oh, don't mind me taking you on a tour of my house. I'll go to this one. Take down a picture. Okay. So a wall walk, let me set you up. You might seriously see my dog in this one. But you're just going to find an open wall, and then you're going to practice starting with your feet back towards the wall and then walking them up to get your body as close to the wall as you can get. So you want to put your hands down and then start your feet up. You're totally in the way on this one. And then you're just going to start walking your feet up the wall. You might start off like this, but that might be a little bad for your shoulders and your wrists, so you want to start practicing walking until you can't walk any further. The goal is to try and touch your nose to the wall, because then you know you're in a straight up and down line. So then you'll carefully walk your feet back. Okay, so that's a wall walk, and hopefully you saw some of that, because I just saw Newton standing right in front of you. And one last tip, like I said, I'm going on vacation. I want to give you lots that you can try and do and work on, is something that was really helpful. I went to a workshop. Turn on the lights here. And they had you just practice getting where your body was like in an L shape. So I'm going to try and set you up so you can kind of see against the wall what that might look like. You can't drop the ball there. Okay, so same kind of thing is you want to get right by the wall, putting kind of like a downward dog, and then hands can go out a little bit, but you kind of want them right underneath your shoulders when you're doing like a plank. And you're trying to get your body to be like an L shape. So if they have to come out a little bit, and then you're going to walk your feet down, and you want it to be like an L. And practicing this, holding this, my arms are actually trembling more in this than anything, because you're working your core and you're working your body, and you're not overextending like this. You want to put it out like as if you're in a handstand. Okay. So those are some things to work on to get better at the feeling of handstand. Headstand is definitely a harder one. Headstand, a lot of time the practitioners stay away from teaching that in class unless it's a more advanced class, because of the damage that you can do to your neck if you do it wrong. So you want to make sure that you pad it up on the floor and that you have lots of cushioning, and start with what's called a tripod headstand. So if you've been doing yoga, you've probably tried crow and you've done chaturanga. So you want to think about where your hands are. Let's see if I can set this up. For crow sorry, and chaturanga. This is probably the most botched video ever. But when you're in chaturanga and crow, you're putting your hands down and sliding them down back, behind your back, like your shoulder blades down, and your hands almost like in, like even with your chest and your rib cage. So when you're doing a crow, and you think about crow, you know, your legs are up like this, your hands are in that same position. That position is kind of the foundation for all of yoga. So chaturanga, crow, a lot of the arm balances, that's where your hands need to be. The same thing for, a tripod headstand. So when you think of a tripod headstand, one of the most important things is a lot of people get in it and their arms go out like this. When you're in a tripod headstand, all of your supports are in 3 points. So if you start spreading yourself out, you're spreading all this energy out and not giving your body the support it needs. So you need to take your arms and whoosh, bring them in as if they're in chaturanga arms. So when you're placing them down, I'll kind of do this at a couple angles. Hopefully Newton doesn't eat my head. Okay, you're starting here, and you never want to kick up into tripod headstand, into any headstand, because that's when it puts the really bad pressure on your neck and it jiggles things around and it's not as stationary as you need them to be. So you're going to start like in chaturanga, and then you can place the front of your head down. You don't want to be directly on top, on the back, but more like the front, and then you can kind of wiggle back. So you'll start here. Hands are in like a chaturanga, and then maybe you just get your body here and practice putting the weight on and staying still. When you're in this position, you don't want to turn your head or be throwing dog toys, because that's never good. And then you can kind of lift and practice getting a couple toes off. So maybe you end up here. Okay? So then the next step would be to kind of bring them into a tuck and practice putting almost all the weight in your hands. I hardly have any weight right now in my head. And then slowly starting to rise up. Still, all the weight is in my hands. I'm almost leaning it forward to relieve some pressure on my head. And then when you come back down, you want it to be here and then here. And then you'll slowly come up from there. So tips for that is really just practicing and getting your head used to having the weight on it. Practicing having your chaturanga arms not sprayed out like this, but in like chaturanga. And then practicing putting pressure and weight on your head. A lot of people have trouble with that. So it's just about getting used to it, feeling confident, and getting your feet over your head as much as you can. Again, a handstand is a little bit more playful. You can't really get as hurt, I'll say, because you can roll out, fall out, twist and turn to get out of it. The headstand is one that you definitely want to maybe even YouTube some beginning headstand tips. But I would definitely say start with a tripod and make sure that you have cushioning underneath to cushion your head at first, because until you get used to finding that balance from your hands into your head, it's going to feel like you're putting a lot of pressure on your head. And that's how it feels in the beginning until you get used to shifting that weight back. So hopefully this mosh podge of tips and puppy play helped you a little bit. If you have any questions or you're practicing and you want to shoot me a video, go ahead and do that, and that way I can say, like, hey, you're not getting your hips up over enough, or whatever it might be doing. That might be some helpful tips that I can give you. All right, so hopefully this helps. I'm going to send it over to you. All right, good luck.